Taylor, are you here for Leaders Lead the podcast? Let's go. Hey, how did you beat me? Look, let me tell you about this podcast. We got like 5 seconds. Leaders Lead the podcast is about leadership. Not just the leader without, but the leader within. All of these leaders that I'm talking to across the country, well, across the world now, they have one thing in common, and that's that they have overcome some insurmountable obstacles to get to where they're at today. Come on, let's go.
Hey, welcome to Leaders Lead the podcast. I am super excited. We have Michael Cade today. I'm really interested in talking with Michael Cade. He's doing some amazing things in this community that I'm really interested in. And I thought, what more or what better platform can I ask these questions? And I thought Leaders Lead would be the obvious choice. So welcome to the show, Michael. I really appreciate you giving the time to talk to our audience.
Yeah, thank you, John. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to be here. Truly, I'm honored that you had asked me to be here and have conversation with you. Thank you.
Oh, good deal. So I'm curious. I've seen you several times now, and I just love the way you move. When I say the way you move is the way you move in community. You've always been very helpful. Any questions that I've had for you, and also any questions that anybody else would have. Where does that come from? I get this keen sense of community from you. Am I picking that up correctly?
Yeah, that's a really interesting lead-in question, because I think what we're talking about is the role that my organization plays and I like to play here in this community. And it really is about service. I want to make sure that when people access the Economic Development Council or talk to me about what we do, is that they leave with a sense of purpose. And their sense of purpose is supported in some way. Everybody has a sense of purpose and mission. And I want to make sure that the resources that we have here, and I have, are available to them. And so I always get nervous when people ask me, well, talk about this and this, or make a presentation on a topic. And I like to have a discussion about the topic rather than a presentation, because we are, as humans, I believe that we have the ability to communicate in different ways. And I get no better enjoyment out of the notion that I have had a conversation with somebody where they pulled out of me information that I kind of have forgot was there. We all have life experiences, and I want to make sure that what I bring to the table are those life experiences. And so I try to kind of pull out that information that is kind of laid dormant. Oh, we can apply it in this way, and that information or the experience in this way with this topic. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. I've seen different agendas move forward in a variety of different ways that you didn't realize it was going to go in that direction. So that's kind of where I try to come from, is what reservoir of information that I can bring to people's conversation and what they want to accomplish. So
wow, I love it. Beautifully said. What's your story? What's your story? You're from the Pacific Northwest, obviously, right?
Yeah. I grew up in Redmond, Washington. That time we moved there. Actually, I moved there from Southern California. My dad was a local business executive, and he got transferred to the area from Southern California. Probably, it's interesting. We're talking to my dad. He says it was the best thing for the family. It was the best thing for him, in the sense that it created an opportunity for all of us to grow up in a community that we could be solidly placed in. And we were given the notion that we had a service ethic. And so we spent a lot of time in service as a child with my parents, doing a variety of different things. But we grew up in the Northwest. I grew up in the Northwest, went to school up in Bellingham, got my degree there, and then made my way to the Snohomish County Economic Development Council right after college.
You're the vice president, right?
Yeah. It's actually, I worked my way to the vice president job. I left, and then I came here in 2004. It's interesting. I don't know if it's interesting or not, to tell you the truth. People ask me, well, talk about your career progression. I really had 2 jobs since college. I haven't. People go, how does that work? And I relate to them the fact that I love my job. I love this community and I love the work that we do. And when you love something, you're always looking to further that relationship. And the relationship that we have, and I have, my wife and I have with this community is pretty significant because we're always looking for something to do better and to do something additive. And that's why I stay here as long as I have. It's not the only reason, but I do love my job and I do love the work that we do. And every day is different. And every initiative we create is unique. It's whole new cloth, basically. And we build on the other things that we do. But kind of my story, that's a great question about what's my story. The story is I love what I do. You know,
Wow.
I love the impact. And what I get even a bigger charge out of, Tony, is the notion that I can drive down the street and I'll work or I'll talk to a company and knowing they're there because of some of the resources they access from our organization. Their life is fulfilled and their life is being fulfilled and they're making impacts. And we had some small part in the role that they play in the community. So my story is one of service. I like to be of service to the community. So.
Wow, that's amazing that you put it there. I was driving down the street the other day, and I was just like, "Oh, I wonder what so and so is doing. I wonder what in different businesses, right? I wonder just from looking at the billboards." And I was like, "That's pretty incredible." Because 10 years ago, I couldn't have told you who owned what business and what they were doing, but now it seems like. I feel so connected, and I even have a yearning to get even more connected to the businesses here local, and with that connection piece. And I bring this up because you do something really good at the EDC, and for those of us who don't know what you all do at the EDC, can you kind of tell us a little bit about how specifically somebody like me, like a small business owner in this community, or even the folks, I'm thinking, even because we got folks that listen all across the world, how can I use the EDC?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny. My kids ask me that all the time. Dad, what do you do? You know, what's your job? And I said, well, I work for the Economic Development Council. And they say, well, okay, let's talk about that. So what we like to say here is that we work to create a vibrant, inclusive, equitable economy. And we want to make sure that we're providing resources in a network that people can insert themselves, use technical assistance, business assistance, market development, market expansion, and then maybe spin out of that and do something to further their own business model. So we work with businesses one-on-one to make sure that they have every resource available to them to be successful. And it doesn't have to necessarily be in this office, although we have a very deep pool of technical assistance providers and different business platforms to do that work. But one of the things that we try to do is make sure that, let's say we actually have clients from around the Northwest that use our services. What we'll do is we'll go do some research about where they're at and where those technical assistance and resources are, where they're physically located, and make sure that they not only take advantage of our resources virtually, but they can go into their community and identify the groups and agencies and organizations, individuals that they can do that. So in many ways, we're a referral agency, but we're really good at hands-on technical assistance to grow businesses. And then the other thing that we do is to make sure that economic development has changed a lot in 20 years. I started, my career in 1990, and it used to be about just recruiting business. And so we've changed that, and our organization has changed that. We don't want to just recruit a business, because when you recruit a business out of a community, that community loses. They lose a business. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to make sure that this opportunity in this community is known for market opportunities. You don't have to move your business here to do business here. And so we want to make sure that business leaders and groups understand you can do business here. You don't have to be here. You can take advantage of the market. You can do a lot of different things. So we have a data analysis about where those things reside in the economic ecosystem. So I'm kind of getting around to it. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
The notion is that somebody can come here and say, I've got an idea for a business. Is it feasible? I don't know. Let's talk about it. And let's do some research. We'll help you do the research. And let's find out where that market niche is. It may not be here. It might be in Moscow, Idaho. And then we'll work to make sure that you get placed over there and do that entry work there. But we're always looking for that business technical assistance. The other thing that we do is we work with the communities on the public sector side to know, so they have an idea of how the economy operates in the community and how it impacts what they do on a budget and a human services level. We do an awful lot of that work in advocacy level and awareness building. And then the other thing that we do is we work with nonprofits, quite a bit of nonprofits, to make sure that they understand, they're a business too. The nonprofits are a huge part of our Thurston County economy. We make sure that they understand and the community understands that there's procurement, there's local wages, et cetera, et cetera. So we work with them on a management level to make sure that they have every tool available to be successful. So, I talk to my kids about it, and really it's the idea is that we serve. We serve the economy and we serve the community in a variety of different ways. And we create resources and platforms for people to take advantage of. All of our resources are paid for. Our board adopts a budget to make sure that we're not a pay-to-play organization. You don't have to be a member of the EDC to use our resources. Somebody comes into the door, we'll serve them. Absolutely.
Okay. So how does that work if, let's say, for instance, just so that I can help our folks out, we got a lot of people that listen to podcasts out there, or a lot of people that are aspiring to be podcasters or aspiring to be speakers. Somehow that's our demographic. I don't know how that happened, but what advice would you give them as far as starting a business off, like initially? Like, what is the thing that I should be doing? Talk to me as if I'm just a newbie with an idea. Every business, I do believe, has to have a business plan and a concept and a mission statement, right? I'm a real big fan of mission statements. Not necessarily that it's like, oh, we're going to be this, but it really is that roadmap where you want to be and what's your vision as a business, but also what your mission in life is and what's your mission to provide a service or a product. And then we will sit down with you or the business person, the entrepreneur, and help them kind of redefine and rehone that business plan down so it's implementable. If it's not implementable, we say, I think there's some concerns here. We think you might have some issues. But the next thing we'll do is, once we have that business plan, is how do we launch? And how do, where's all the regulations and the rules and requirements that you have to go through? It's nothing worse than saying, here's a business plan. See you later. Here's a business plan we worked on. It's a roadmap. Let's help you implement it now. And what are the steps, step by step by step? We have clients in our organization that we've had for 15, 20 years, that they've come in, they've launched their business here. We helped them create the business plan, the model. We did some hand-holding, introduction to financing. And then once they get that up and running, we've helped them do a location analysis and site location. And then we hook them up with training to get, if they're expanding, workforce training, get employees, and then market expansion. So we have another couple of operational platforms that does that. But the idea is that, I hate the word no wrong door. Just everybody just tell people is, don't worry about the doors. Just knock them down.
Let's talk to them. Yeah, just knock them down, and then we'll just go from there. So it really is, how do we implement a business plan and create a pathway, help you create a pathway forward to do what you want to do as a business leader in a business organization. Everybody's unique. And that's the beauty of economic development. Everything's unique. And there's a unique way of doing the business that you're in. So we try to make sure that we're understanding of that and respectful of it.
Oh, wow. So is there a certain type of business that the EDC works with? And I'm talking about as far as, like, what would be an attractive business that would come and work with the EDC?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It used to be our organization was only focused on kind of large manufacturing. Now we're going to work with large manufacturers. Well, we don't really have a lot of large manufacturers in Thurston County. They're there, and they're very good, and we work with them. But really, if you look at last year we served the last 2 years, we served about 15,000 businesses through our organization, virtually or physically. And that's a lot when you consider there's 8,500 businesses in Thurston County. So your question is, what's the best type of business? I don't know the answer to that question, but we deal with retail, we deal with professional services, engineering, law firms. Interestingly enough, a number of attorneys have come here and we help them start their businesses. I think, man, you probably should figure this out on your own. But retail, restaurateurs, we do specialty trainers. They've done, kind of how do you create a training curriculum and attach to a certain market? We have data on where that market is and who's there. Residential construction, commercial industrial construction companies and firms. So it really is not one, but it's a myriad of that mix. In Thurston County, if you look at our economy and you cut it in certain ways, about kind of largest to smallest, runs everything from healthcare being the largest private sector down to kind of the smaller sized companies that are maybe a personal services. But in the middle is 30 different sectors of the economy that we work with. And then we also look at how do we be a catalyst to ensure that those emerging markets, because the economy changes. I'm sorry, Tony, you pulled the string on my back, man. I'm just started talking.
No, I love it. No, keep going. I love it. I'm learning. I got a page full of notes here. My own personal notes that I'm gonna use myself. This is good.
One of the things that we want to do is we want to be respectful and understanding of how markets emerge, and how they are changing the way that business is done. We all know during the COVID pandemic, things changed. Things got rough for a lot of people. And so we noticed that almost all the clients, 90% of the clients that we saw were looking to adjust their business plans towards something about an online presence or a take and go or, order service and go to home delivery type model. So we've changed that. But we've also seen quite a bit of technology-based emergence of the economy. The arts sector, Tony, has been phenomenal in Thurston County as it grows. I would consider your podcast as within that genre of arts, because it's a creative way of solving problems and communicating issues. But the arts in Thurston County has become a significant driver of our economy. People forget in the recession of 08-09 in Thurston County, there was only one sector during the 2-year period, 16-month period, that showed job growth quarter after quarter after quarter. Every quarter showed job growth, and it was the arts sector.
Really?
The message that I got from that was the arts creates a wonderful entrepreneurial network, meaning there's a lot of artisans that are self-employed, but they also generate those multipliers that feed into the arts. All of a sudden you get this art sector here, and all of a sudden feeding into that are the financial services, and then the real estate services, and then the distribution, and then the marketing, and then the procurement and the products and services. So this little sector, all of a sudden we start to grow. And so we started focusing on some of our resources around the arts. And it really has created something cool in Thurston County now, where if you do per capita, break it out by Thurston County by per capita, Thurston County is some of the highest per capita of individuals employed in the arts than any other county in Washington State. And you wouldn't think that would be that way, but it is. It's really cool. The data bears it out. So it's been pretty significant. So we always have to be looking for emerging sectors. So how do we grow them and support them?
I love it. So it's definitely not set up to be where you would think, oh, we're just going to keep pushing the same markets. What you're telling me is that what the Thurston EDC is doing is not only pushing the same markets, but promoting other markets. I've never heard that arts. I never knew that arts basically did not go down, that it drove the economy or helped drive the economy during that time. That is amazing. That is so cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is really cool. And in many ways, people in our region would rather have, art than cheeseburgers. It's just the way it is. But if you start thinking about it, it's that quality of life that people seek out. And that's what's cool about this job, is that I can take the data and I can apply it in some sort of fashion, and I can see its impact upon the community. It is really cool in the way that you see that spirit. And it's not necessarily just Thurston County, but it's statewide. The Washington State Arts Commission, I'm a real big fan of that state agency, ArtsWA. They have been promoting arts districts throughout Washington State. And I was blessed to be able to be part of that thinking about 10 years ago, and how they set them up. And now I've started to see them grow, and I can see them grow in Eastern Washington and in Edmonds and on the peninsula and in Thurston County. And you see those things just kind of boom, 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 boom. And it's cool because it's not just, we got good data, big deal. But it's that quality of life that people really gravitate towards. It makes those communities so much stronger and so much better. So,
Oh yeah. You're one thing I noticed, you rely a lot on data, and I think that data is important. Me personally, I'm afraid of math, and I would think that you would have went to school for economics or something like that, but you didn't go to school for economics, correct?
No, I have a degree in English literature and geography.
How the heck did that happen?
I know. I truly wanted to be an English school teacher, English literature teacher in high school. And I got through going to school at Western and started getting into student teaching. And I thought, this is really hard. I don't know if I'm mentally cut out for it. These teachers are amazing people. Yeah. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if I can do it. And so I got scared. I thought, this just isn't for me. And so I switched. I had I took a couple of classes in geography and urban planning, and realized, that's really cool stuff. But geography is interesting when you start thinking about the practice or the education side of geography. It's really the analysis of why things locate where they do. And so I've used that about why things locate here, what drives it. And then the English literature, man, I got to tell you, I probably write about 70 pages of text a week. I had no idea. People want to know what's going on. And so a lot of the questions that I get are unique. So I can't just go to the shelf and pull off a report and send it off to them. I would rather, if you called me and say, Michael, what's the data show and what's the opportunities in this kind of idea, I'm going to want to serve you a little bit. And I want to make sure that you're getting the information rather than just like, okay, here's a link and here's some data that I've done in the past. Call me next week when you thought about it. I would rather get you information right up front, so where you can come back to us and I can direct you to some of our team members here, professionals that really can dive into that information. And so that's really, you asked the question about, my background in education, but it really was not economics, and it wasn't in economic development. It was in English literature and geography. I guess I have a fantasy someday when I retire, Tony, that I want to become a school teacher. Actually, I spent some time at the North Thurston Public Schools, and I kind of actually thought about becoming a kindergarten teacher after I'm done here. So.
Wow. So after freaking working with all these adults all these years, you're going to go and work with kindergartners. I think that's amazing. And I don't blame you.
I just think we have a significant change in economic development. I believe we can no longer think about just today. And my lights just turned off. But
it's all good. It's all good.
We can no longer just think about today and how do I serve this market. We have to think about tomorrow and the community that we're building for tomorrow. And one of the things that I believe that we all need to pay attention to in Washington State is the youth, and really is early childhood education opportunities. We need to prepare our families and our youth to be a strong participant and leader in what we do. We have to leave a legacy where they can build on it, not repair it. That really makes me nervous that we're leaving a legacy where they have to repair it and fix it. Wouldn't it be cool if we left a legacy and had a legacy where they build on it and expand on it and augment it? And I think that's kind of what the passion in me is. It's a little bit is understanding what can I really do with that concept? I can do what I do now, and that's good work. I believe in it. But after I'm done and retired, maybe I should think about how do I really hit a different concept of how do you build a stronger tomorrow? Let's build a community that people don't have to repair. It's hard. It's sometimes heartbreaking when I see, there's that old saw at economic development, a rising tide raises all boats. That's no.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, and I don't see it.
Yeah, because all boats are not equal. All boats, a lot of boats have holes in them. They go right down the bottom, and so we have to make sure that we're really moving together as a community to do that.
So it sounds like the EDC is a equalizer in the boats, or if you want your boat to rise, you all make it happen. Is that correct?
Yeah, we try. We really try. Every program that we implement or take on, we actually have a strong, hard question about, is this accessible and usable for the folks that need it? And then, we go out and we test it. The other thing that we do is we want to make sure that we don't do anything alone. We have to have partners in economic development. You're a partner in what you do. We have to understand where is that partnership, and there really is strength in understanding what are those non-traditional partners. The Chamber of Commerce is a traditional partner of the Economic Development Council, hand in glove. Master Builders is hand in glove partners. That's fine. But there's other partners out there that are really, think about the arts. I mean, we had to really extend ourselves to understand, the local arts groups. How do we support them? How do we create the partner? And they kind of looked at me like, what are you doing here? I'm here because it's I like what you do. And, ask the question. So we have to create those non-traditional partners. So when the question is, what do we try to do at the organization? We try to provide those hardcore resources, but we want to make sure that we're accessible. We want to meet people where they're at. Because I think, historically, I don't think we've done a good job with that. I think we've done a good job. I think it's a learning process, and I think we need to be a little bit more engaged with it. And we get more engaged every day. I'm not saying we don't, but one of the things that our board has asked us to do is make sure we're doing that. Make sure that we're looking for those groups and individuals that we've not partnered with, and don't be rude about it, but be engaged about it, be pragmatic about it. That we have something to offer, and that sometimes we need to change the way we go about our work. I remember when I was first here, moved here in 2004. Economic development really was kind of a hard word for the community to swallow and talk about. There was a local group. They kept writing guest editorials about the organization. And so I never met these people. And it was like I'm brand new to their job. And so I just showed up at their community event. They have these monthly meetings. And I just walked in, and they said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, you keep writing articles about me." So I thought I'd come and introduce myself. And so let's have a conversation, and actually do a lot of work with those folks now. And we do a lot of engaged development and engaged conversations. So you have to be open to be criticism, and you have to open to new ideas and participatory roles for other individuals. And sometimes you have to give away the ownership of a project to make sure that you are the leader of that project, and you are kind of using us as a resource. You being a euphemism for other groups that aren't engaged with us. So
I love that.
Great question. I love that question, by the way.
No, I know. Yeah, I've just been intrigued by the organization because when I started my business here, I had never heard of it. I said, I'm going to start a business. And it seems like once I started the business, I started learning more about different resources. Do you see, because I don't know if that's everybody else's story or how they heard about it or not heard about it. Do you see any challenges with communication as far as the EDC and what you all do at the EDC?
Yeah, it's we have to tell our story better, and we have to say it louder. I'm kind of a workhorse, right? You give me a project, I'm going to put my head down, I'm going to start working. But we have to do a better job of broadcasting what it is that we do. We should have been on your radar screen a year before you launched your business.
Not too late.
Yeah, because want to make sure entrepreneurs. That's why we call it the entrepreneurial network. That there's entry points, and we have to broadcast what those entry points are. And a lot of times when people think about an economic development council, they think in terms of we deal only with large corporations and large businesses. But our budget, if you look at our budget and our deliverables, 80% of our work is focused on employers, 10 employees or less, small business. It really is the micro businesses and how we absolutely have to do a better job. And that's one of the things I'm guilty of, and I need our board to kind of hold me accountable for, is how do we send that message out to individuals? No, we're here. We have to be approachable. And I think, the way I kind of go about work, I just said, I'm just a workhorse. I forget that I need to be approachable. And so phone rings, I answer it. I don't wait for it to go to a answering service. So that's true for all of our team. Phone rings, we answer it. And then we'll return every phone call. Every individual is a critical piece of our community. Every business is a critical piece of the economy. But you're right, we have to tell our story stronger and better. We're looking for ways to do that.
Yeah.
In Thurston County, it's a limited media market. We don't have the large television stations, and the newspaper is, it's different. So we have to go out and do that face-to-face marketing, so to speak. And so we've asked all of our team members to identify where they need to be next. Who do they need to talk to? What groups? And so we take any and all speaking engagements. Come in and talk to us about the Economic Development Council. And that's one of the things I do. I probably do 3 or 4 of those a month, but we need to do more. We need to do more. And the other cool thing about this work that I do, I'm the Thurston Economic Development Council. I'm part of a PAC of a coalition of economic development groups throughout Washington State. Every county has an economic development council or an organization. And we want to make sure that they know we're a partner of theirs, and that we want to make sure that we're referring people directly to those resources. I said earlier that, wherever people are, we want to make sure that we have an understanding, because there's a pretty cool network of entrepreneurial development. One of the things that came out of the pandemic is that, we all work together now. We do. We have weekly, sometimes bi-weekly meetings of organizations like me to find out, what are you doing? How are you doing that? How can I refer people there? But your question is, I got to tell the story better. I really do. So.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the reason that I asked is, I would love to help with telling that story. Just going on y'all's website, I've learned so much. There's been so many times where I have my laptop and I'm like, hey, honey, come look at this. Did you know about this? Did you know about this is freaking cool. I didn't know that we did that. And I'll wrap the questions up because I know that you're a busy man. For the folks that are not in Washington State, do the Economic Development Council and what you do, are there other organizations like that in other cities and other states, and are they comparable to the amazing work that you're doing right now?
So let's talk a little bit about Washington State, and then I'll talk about what I know about all the other states.
Yes, sir.
So I'm kind of the mothership, so to speak, is Washington State Department of Commerce. Wonderful organization. We do a lot of work with them, and we're actually have some contracts with them to deliver services. And a lot of times an out-of-state company will contact the Washington State Department of Commerce and say, hey, I'm interested in doing business in Washington. Who do I work with? And then they'll do that direct warm referral out. So we do a lot of work with the Washington State Department of Commerce, and they cover the entire state structure. Some individuals there are just fantastic. I can't say enough about the work that they did during the pandemic. And then every state's a little bit different. For example, Idaho, they don't have, they really rely heavily upon their network of chambers of commerce. In Oregon, they do larger economic development groups, as I understand it. And then they do some small urban centers of economic development groups. And so it's not as organized as we call ourselves the ADO network, which is a euphemism, or it's a tagline, is the Associate Development Organizations. So every county has one.
Okay.
And we're organized and we're connected with each other. That doesn't happen in other states as much as it does here, I believe. It may happen, and I just don't know about it. But so if you're in Oregon, you can go to your local chamber, or you can go to the state. I think it's the Office of Oregon Economic and Competitiveness, and then they'll direct services to you. There's a gentleman that works for the city of Tumwater, Austin Ramirez, and he's their economic development manager. He's a great guy. Jeez, he's smart. He is just a really smart guy, real professional. And he came out of Lane County, Oregon, doing economic development for the county. And so his territory was literally to the coast, to the crest of the Cascades. And he was busy. And so that's kind of how they do. A lot of times it's those large geographic features that they'll deal with at the county level. We're a private nonprofit organization, so we're a little bit different. But we look to Washington State Commerce to provide that state coverage and the state leadership and resources and direction. And then we also work real heavily with the independent organizations, or the nonprofit organizations, private sector nonprofit, similar to me, in other counties to work with. I have a great relationship with the EDCs in Lewis County, Grays Harbor, Pacific, and Mason counties, and Pierce County as well. They're the ones that join us. And so I meet with them on a regular basis to just talk about strategies and how do I help them, and how do we work together and stuff. So
that's so awesome. I really enjoy listening to you. I can definitely tell that this work brings you joy, and so I know that the factor of that is that it brings joy to other people. Thank you for what you do. I think that is amazing, and I highly encourage anybody or everybody that's listening to this to reach out, especially if you're in Thurston County. Reach out to Michael Cade and the amazing organization. I'm so excited that I am a new board member, and I'm looking forward into to really getting my hands dirty. What would you say? I forgot we were recording. I was going to ask you a question, but I'm going to ask you that anyway. Yeah. I'm going to ask you this anyway. What would you say as far as my contribution? What do you say? What do you think that I can help you all with the most?
One of the things that I just kind of a real candid and personal answer back to you, quite frankly. So I kind of watch what people do, and I watch when they launch their businesses and how they go about it and what they're all about. And what attracted me to talk to you about the leadership role at our organization was the notion of how you went about setting up your business and setting the conversation and the communication style of making a better community. And that was just really drawn to that. It really was like, wow, that's really cool, because you're thinking about big picture stuff. Let's do the micro stuff, but don't forget that we do a little bit of work here and it's exponential down the road. And that's what I saw out of you. And what you bring to our table is the notion that it's that future that we were talking about. Let's don't think about what we're doing today. Let's think about it, right? Let's don't be silly. Yeah. But let's also make sure that we're understanding, we're creating a community that is going to be better tomorrow. We kind of got away from that in economic development, I think, 15 years ago. And what you brought to the table is a spirit of entrepreneurship. And that was really cool. And what you also bring is the notion of how do you communicate and ask the question. A lot of times we're afraid to ask the question because we don't really want to know the answer.
Yeah.
If you're afraid to ask the question, you're afraid of the answer. And so you
might be afraid to do the work.
You might be afraid you're going to have to do different work.
Yeah.
And so that's what attracted to me was that leadership, that servant leadership that you have about how do you actually ask a question and take the answer and make it a positive operational element and do it. And let's make sure that people understand this is what we're doing. And you have a participatory role and a responsibility to do that. The EDC can no longer just sit and say, we're doing good work. We're good. No, that's not good enough. That's just not good enough. And that's what I saw you do and how you set up your business and immediately how you got connected with the businesses in a really servant leadership role is that they know that I'm going to talk to Tony and this is what we're going to talk about because this is what's important to me as well. So
I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate that. And I wasn't fishing for compliments.
No, it's easy to do. Seriously, easy to do. But yeah, I know, but you need to know that because that's important. The role that you play on our board is one of that entrepreneur, but it's also that community builder. Yeah.
No, thank you for saying that. One of the things that I struggle with hugely, especially on my way up to work. I get out of the car, and of course I'm excited, getting ready to come in, talk to you, and I look over and I see a young man. He looks like he's like 21, and he's like sleeping in the snow, and I'm just like wow, man. There's got to be a better way, and that's just look. And I know that's only one angle of this big picture, but I'm just like I wonder what piece of information that he didn't get, what information that could I give him or anybody or our community that can give him that could change his life around. And I looked at his face and I'm just like, hey, what's up, dude? And he's like, well, what's up, man? And I was just like, man, and it just left this burden on my heart. And I'm glad that you brought that up because that's what I think about a lot is not only how do I make my household secure when it comes to wealth, but what can I do? What can I do for others? What can we do as a community for others? And I've been good at doing a lot of different things, but one thing I know that I'm great at is listening and talking and passing that information. And that's one thing that we want to continue to do on this show is to be a conduit of that information. And I think we did that today talking to you, man. This is so good. And I just got one more dying question for you. Michael Cade, when it's all said and done, and this is the end. Some people call it the end, but I think it's the beginning of forever. But you are no longer on this earth. What would you want to leave behind as your legacy? What would you want your family, your community, the people that you worship with, if you're into that kind of thing? What would you want us to say and remember about you?
Great question. I'm going to answer the question maybe in a different way you asked it. What I hope that they say is that they love each other, and they had a family and an opportunity to love each other and care for each other. And then I had a role in how that happens. Whether or not they kind of use those words in the voice of talking about me, but I hope that and I pray that they have an environment now where they feel that love for each other and the respect of individuality and the respect and responsibility they have as those individuals. And my wife, Sonia, and I, we have 3 children, and we've always kind of joked about, we've tried to raise free-range kids, right? We wanted to make sure that they have an opportunity to play with each other, but also love and respect one another and show it and show that love for each other. So when I'm all said and done, and if that happens, I think my soul will rest easy. And that's what I kind of, when I say my prayers and my blessings, I'm thankful that I had an opportunity to talk about the word love, and opportunity not to be afraid of the word and all that it means. Is that when I say I love my job, I do love my job. When I say I love my wife, that's just, my family. And what that means is that when I'm gone, that they love each other. And that's it for me. So I answered in a different way, but hopefully that.
Dude, that was so beautiful. That is so beautiful, because what I got from that was that it is, you're living this life not for you, but to serve them and to serve us. So for that, dude, I thank you. Any closing words before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I do want to thank you for the opportunity and for your leadership. This is really cool. I appreciate the opportunity. I mentioned to you, I don't like talking about myself. It's not an easy thing, but you made it very easy for me to do that. But thank you. Yeah, truly, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're doing some amazing stuff. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for giving me the time. Like I said, I know that you're busy. This means the world to me. So thank you so much. And we are out.
Whew, that was great. If you enjoyed this podcast, well, I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you're still here with us, what I want you to do is head over to your favorite podcast and streaming network and give us a download, subscribe to the channel, and also let us know what you think about the show. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for the things that you've done. Thank you for the things that you're doing. And especially thank you for the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something amazing.